Hello and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Amanda Salvatore, and today I spoke with Taylor Anderson, Systems Development and Growth Manager at Sunline Landscape in Bluffdale, Utah. While she may have grown up in the landscape world, Taylor truly found her professional stride once she connected with the power of Aspire. Now she's leveraging that expertise, not just to optimize Sunline, but by taking it to the classroom to help prepare the future leaders of our industry. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Taylor Anderson, you are the Systems Development and Growth Manager at Sunline Landscapes, located in Bluffdale, Utah. And today we're going to be talking about your unique journey into the industry, your role at Sunline, and the importance of technology adoption. Welcome to Toolbox for the Trades.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun.
I think so too. I got the opportunity to interview you at Ignite 2025. And as soon as I met you, I knew that I had to have you on the podcast. I'm sure, as you know, we start with a little icebreaker here on Toolbox for the Trades. So, what is one thing you are looking forward to in 2026?
I think I'm most looking forward to just spending time with my family. I've got a toddler, a little girl, and I've loved watching her grow up, but also work-wise, I'm just excited to see where Sunline grows and where we move to from here. We had such a great fun year, and I'm excited to keep moving forward.
I can't wait to follow up and hear how it's going. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. How did you find yourself in this industry?
My introduction into the industry happened very, very young. My grandfather is a soil scientist and he taught at Brigham Young University in Provo. And then my father, when I was almost 8, he went to school. We moved around. He's a landscape architect by trade. And he actually started teaching at BYU as well in the same department as his father. So I have been around the industry since I was an 8-year-old kid. I've been involved with the program. I was in going to events with all of them. So I've really been around it since I was a kid. But I think my true, actual, starting to work introduction was when I graduated high school. I started working grounds at BYU. And then I ended up taking a floral design class that combined with my grounds crew experience. I just was like, I think I want to do this. Like, the major at school is amazing. The professors are also amazing. I know I'm a little biased about that, but I really, really just loved it. And so started going to school, ended up getting married, and I had to quit my job at grounds so that I could get a job where I got some benefits. I wasn't just working as a student part-time. Eventually, my husband graduated. He got all of his licensing. And then I was like, okay, now it's my turn. I want to go back into what I love. I got a job as a residential maintenance account manager at a company in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. During my time there, me and my husband had a little baby girl. After having her while I was on maternity leave, the company I was with implemented Aspire. And so I came back and I was like, I'm behind. I gotta really figure this out fast, because I didn't want to be the person be like, oh, here's Taylor back, new mom brain, and now she doesn't know our software. And so I was like,
that's a real thing.
Yes.
That's when you come back from maternity leave, that's a real concern of the catch
Yeah.
up of it all.
And I'd been gone for 3 months. So, and luckily it was during the winter. So it was like a little bit slower, but still I came back. It was February and it was time to go. I worked really, really hard to go through all of the trainings I could. I worked with people on the team. I wanted to catch up as quickly as possible. And I feel like I did. I just had a great team there. And, through all of that, I grew and was able to learn a lot more about Aspire, and through the opportunities that were provided me at that company. We made a decision to move back to Utah so we could have support from our family members to watch our daughters. So we weren't paying for daycare full time. And I got welcomed with open arms at Sunline, and I knew I wanted to work here. So they were really the people that I was talking to. I started here actually exactly 2 years ago today. I was hired as a property care manager, started doing stuff, and I was in meetings just trying to learn about the company, just trying to learn about our teams here, how we work, all of that. I just ended up being like, oh, Aspire can do this and this and this. And so working with my team, they went out on a limb and they created a whole position for me. And so now I get to be in charge of Aspire, everything that talks to it. And I get to help implement it into our processes so we're a bit more efficient with what we do and how we do it. And I just think I'm really lucky to be where I am and that they went out on a limb and I think they like what I'm doing. So that, I'm still here doing what I can to help them as much as possible.
I'm so glad to be a part of your 2-year anniversary. What a
Yeah.
wonderful way to celebrate coming on the podcast, talking
Yeah.
about your experience. Congratulations. That's
And thank
amazing.
you.
Oh, I'm so thrilled for you. I have to ask, you kind of hit the ground running after maternity leave into Aspire. I know that new technology and such big technology, such expansive software can be really intimidating. But what was it about Aspire that really piqued your interest in the beginning?
I think it was the ease of what I could do. The system that we were on was older. We had to have like a VPN to log into, and then you opened it and it would crash and all this stuff. And comparatively to that I could log on to whatever computer was around and just re-authenticate my device. I was like, well, first off, ease of access of this is incredible. I'm also a person who wants to do a lot of research before I get into something, or I want to look, well, what have we done in the past? What does this look like? And to have all of that data in one spot within Aspire was so helpful. I use the job dashboard and the full property wizard all the time as an account manager, just because I wanted to know, what have my clients already spent? What have they already done? And, is me asking for more? Is me doing this? Is this going to be outside of what they're doing? And it was all in one spot and it was so, so helpful. And the fact that I could do something start to finish was also great. It was, yeah, I could send them an estimate, which was wonderful. But also at the end of the day, I can track the hours. I know where my crew is at. I know what my material cost is. And I could track it all the way through in one system instead of pulling from 3 or 4 different areas.
Yeah, it's incredibly useful. And
Oh, yeah.
everyone always brings up the data and
Yeah.
having access to that and how it informs your decisions. So I'm not surprised that that's a part of what really flipped your switch about the software. I would love to know, what should companies consider when they're looking for a super user? You started this role essentially because you were the pro and you really understood and you enjoy that research. You really did the footwork for it. So, what would you suggest other companies who are looking for that person? What do you suggest they do?
There's 2 different ways that I've seen people go. They usually either have somebody who's like a true data analyst that they hire from outside of the industry. And then they also have kind of a person like me who kind of grew in the industry. And I think there are pros and cons to all of it, right? But I think what you need to find is, what does your company want out of a person in my position? So do you want somebody to just be a data analyst? If that's all you need, yeah, you could probably look outside your industry. What I think my role is here is, I'm not just a data analyst. I'm also like, when I'm asking one of my project managers in the field to do something, I know what I'm asking because it's taking them away from their job, because I know what it's like to be on a job. When I am helping them build a process, I already know what their process is. And so I can implement technology a little easier within that already existing thing. So I think what you have to look for when you're doing that is, what do you want out of your role first? So do you want true data analytics, or do you want like a process person? And if you do want somebody that's more like me, I would look internally before externally. Everybody has a super user. They have the person who they can be like, oh, this isn't working. And they're like, oh, go talk to so-and-so down the hall. They're great at Aspire and they know what's going on. Maybe ask that person and say, what if you did this all the time instead of all these other things and then Aspire? I think we're seeing more companies. I'm seeing more companies in even my area in Utah who are hiring people specifically for Aspire, and they're hiring a specific person to run it. And so I think it's becoming more prevalent. And so look internally. That person already knows your company. That person already knows the industry, and they already know your processes, and they might be able to kind of help you, like help guide you through. It's going to make onboarding easier. It's going to make when people have trainings or projects they need to work on, it's going to be easier because they already know what's going on. You just got to look and see, does that person want to do it? Just ask them, because you never
Yeah.
know, they might want it.
Yeah. And also, they understand the company culture, they know what's going
Yes.
on, and they understand your values, what
Yeah.
you're looking for. That's something you don't have to teach. They
Yes.
just know that. So they're already at an advantage.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for gaining support from the top? Like how do you get that buy-in?
Well, one, I'm very spoiled because I have so much buy-in from my like top team. Like they are just like, yeah, whatever Taylor needs, we're going to help her with. So first off, I'm very, very spoiled in that, but it does make my job easier when, because sometimes people don't want to listen to the IT girl in the corner, right? They're like, oh, Taylor needs something. It's fine. I can get to it, right? They may not see the whole picture. But what is great about having that, that executive level on the same page is they do see the top down plan of what is going on. So having them reinforce what's needed from my end, or, hey, we have this big overall plan and this Aspire part is just here, but we need that done to be able to have everything else move. I think it's really important. And my team does a great job of holding their teams accountable, but also working with me. I can go talk to any of them at any time and be like, hey, I really need you to get your team to do this. I'm not getting a response. And 10 out of 10 times, I've gotten the support I've needed. But I know that if I didn't have that, I would not be as effective at my job. And the only reason I'm effective at my job is because not only do we have buy-in there, but the rest of my team is like, well, yeah, we want to get better. I really think it comes down to our culture and our values. We all want to, have growth and progression, and we really want to keep like being a leader in our industry. And because we hire that way, I think it makes my job easier because people also want to do that. I'm working with like-minded people who just want to grow and get better at what they do. Would you have that good core value within, and it's getting your analytics get there? So your goal can't be, I want a higher revenue. Yeah, that's great. But like, if you're not all behind it, if you get all behind it, then your revenue is going to grow. And it doesn't matter that that was your goal. If your goal is to be better as a team, those data goals are going to be met. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I want to talk about how long it actually took for your role to develop. People very often think that maybe you start a position and then on Monday you go.
Yeah.
But I know that you said that patience really pays off when developing a new role.
Yeah.
Let's dissect that a little bit.
I started my role and there was no job description. There was no like, oh, Taylor's in charge of this thing. There was nothing like that when I started. So one, I had to kind of be a little bit of a go-getter and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to be in charge of. I'm going to be in charge of this stuff and this stuff and this stuff. But also my team was okay with that because they were like, we've got to see how this fits into the fabric of Sunline. And they were patient with it, and I was patient with it. I don't think I had an official job description until last November. So it did take almost a full year. But because we let it kind of play out to see where I fit in, and I did a lot of, work on my own. I was going to all the department meetings. I had weekly one-on-ones with my supervisor, but I also had one-on-ones set up with every department head and my CEO, and our like monthly ones with them to just see, okay, what do you need? Where can I go to help? And where are we going from here? They were okay with that patience because it was a new role. And they actually, like, my team really pushed for it because they were like, we want this to be as effective as possible. So we're okay with being patient to make it effective. Because they were patient, I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, like, is this going to work out? It wasn't like it was making me not perform. It was helping push me. I think being patient and figuring out the best place for your specific person. Maybe the place for your person isn't exactly what I'm doing, but it's going to be something similar. So help them shape that role, and then it will help shape your company better. So I really felt like I hit my stride my first winter here. We had implemented some projects and some new processes at the beginning of spring, the spring of 2024. We implemented some new processes. We have a big spring training in April. We rolled it out to one team and we tested it through everything. And I said the thing that I always say with new things in Aspire. I promise if you try really, really hard for 6 months, it's going to work. But we can't create a new process and not do it, because then it definitely won't work. So I was doing that, and I had my team come back to me at the beginning of winter quarter in 2024 and say, I'm kind of mad about it, but Taylor's process worked and it made it way easier. So I was really excited about that. And we were able to then take that process that we implemented, shape it to work for the other teams. We implemented it on our property care side, and then we were able to shape it differently for our construction and our design team. And I really felt like, oh, okay. So at the beginning of quarter four, end of quarter three, I was like, okay, so this is what we're doing. This is how we can get going, and this is how we get better. I don't want to say that I've never felt like I've been in a rut. I've definitely felt that at moments, but I've got such an amazing team around me, but also like knowing I know what I'm doing. Like I'm good. I can help you figure stuff out if you need. So you want it to be an overnight thing, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes you do have to wait. But if you're okay waiting a year for your company to be better from here on out, then what's the problem with waiting a year?
I know you leverage Aspire's data to analyze the relationship between departments. You're looking at conversion rates and you're asking the why behind the business outcomes. How have those insights specifically helped to optimize your workflow?
Yeah, I would say one of the coolest things that we've done is we have a committee that's been our standard operating procedure committee, so our SOP committee. And we have spent the last year creating like a big process of like step by step, every single step of when somebody calls in for a design to when we hand them off to maintenance, and even from then on. So having the data behind, okay, so we had, let's say we had 10 construction clients and 7 of them signed on for maintenance after, but we had 3 of them who didn't. We try to do our best to really like dive into the numbers of like, okay, well, did we overbid on something? Did we underbid on something? Were they going back and forth with communication extra or less? Then when we're building our new processes, sometimes we don't get somebody signed on because maybe they didn't even know we did maintenance. That could have been a factor. And so trying to figure out where people's jobs start and end in that process has helped us kind of negate some of those losses. So bringing our director of property care in a little bit sooner rather than later, we've seen better success with that. Getting them on board with what we're about as a company, what we offer, what we do, nailing down simple things that maybe seem simple, but maybe they aren't. Things like warranty periods. Being in Utah, we have true winters. So being able to offer, winter watering and fertilizations on top of when they're going in the ground, and making sure that we are keeping top of mind what people weren't happy with so we can change that in the future. And we use Aspire to look into that, but also the experience of our team around us. We have on that committee, we have at least 2 people from every department on there. So we could say, oh, well, we lost this client, but this was my experience here. This was my experience here. And this was my experience here. And so then we can help write those processes of each department and have buy-in. So when our plant procurement team is making a change or implementing a new process, everybody knows about it. And so that's been really Kind of like Aspire, we get a top-down view of everything. We want to do the same thing with our processes.
What do you think is the cornerstone of a good process?
One, you have to be as clear as possible within that process. If you think it's dumb to say, click here, go here, it's not. So, one, I think being very, very clear within the process, but also making sure that everybody knows what that is and has access to everything. We're in a blue collar industry, so it's easy to say, yeah, your process, your SOP, it's online. But somebody's like, well, I'm up in the mountains and I have no service, so that doesn't help me, or I don't want to use the computer. So making sure that not only do they know where everything is, but they have access to it the way they need. There's some people who want a printed binder. Give them a printed binder, right? There's some people who want to find it in their, in their OneDrive or their Dropbox. Give it to them there. So making it accessible, making it clear, and making sure that everybody knows the process. That's part of the reason why we bring everybody in. Every department knows what the other department step is before and after their step. So our property care team knows what happened before with construction and design. Design knows what's happening with construction and property care. So everybody being on the same page and knowing the process and not just going, oh, well, that's their job, so we'll leave them to it. I think that just makes people less effective. And so making sure that everyone's on the same page, everybody knows, but also that you've communicated it you're sending it to them via email, you're putting it in a Dropbox or a OneDrive, or you're printing it out. And you can print it out and leave it in the office, or you can print it out and put it in their truck, whatever they want. But we got to make sure that they have access to what they need.
What is your method for improving processes within the software and addressing pain points?
One of the things that I try really hard to do is I never stop a process. So if we've changed something, I try really hard not to be like, okay, we've improved that process. See you later. I try really hard to have constant check-ins. I kind of talked specifically about a new process we implemented with our maintenance team. And that was in like April, March of 24. I checked in with our team every week for like 3 months. I was like, okay, so is it working? What can we do? Can we make it better? And they're like, no, we like it. And I checked in with our crew leaders and they're like, we would love it if these people did it more. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. So it was like a continuous type of check-in. And then I checked in at 6 months. I checked in again in the winter and I was like, is this still working? Is what we're doing okay? And they're like, no, I think we want to change this step of the process. Why are we using a task here instead of an issue? Can we make it an issue? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that instead. So sometimes we create a new process and we're like, oh, good, we're done. I think what we need to keep doing is we need to keep checking it. You need to keep going, okay, is this working for us? Because a process you made a year ago may not work now. A process you made 5 years ago probably doesn't work now. You're a larger company. You're different. You may have a different spread of what you do. So just making sure that you continuously check in with your processes and you're making the updates where you need them, I think is the most important part of that, because you have to keep growing. You have to keep getting better. And the way you do that is to continuously look at what you've been doing.
So I'd love to shift now to Aspire in the classroom. I know this is a huge initiative for you. So tell our listeners about what that looks like.
So I am very lucky. I have a connection down at BYU. So it was easy to create that connection with them. I have the opportunity that I actually teach Aspire at 2 different colleges. So I teach it down at BYU, and then I also teach it up at Utah State University. I got connected with Utah State and their professor Pam there through John Goal. He's the one who kind of connected all of us, and so started teaching it up there. We're starting our second year with them. So we've done 2 classes of it, 1 per semester, and then we're growing from there. We're going to start implementing it more and more. And it's been super fun to be able to get to know another university in the area. We have a lot of Utah State grads at Sunline, so it just makes sense. And then the other place I teach it down at BYU. They actually have a class that's called Systems that they teach it in. So I teach that once a semester. The other class that I teach it in, BYU has a pretty cool class. It's called Bidding and Estimating. And they get to basically learn how to bid and estimate a project, whether that's an enhancement or a maintenance contract or whatever it is. They learn the ins and outs of estimating. It was our first semester teaching it in there last year, but we actually taught 5 classes that involved Aspire, and their last final in-class project was creating a contract and a work order, like a proposal from scratch. And they had to put it in all of their knowledge from the whole semester that they learned on how to bid, how to estimate, how to count, how to, create all of these different things got put into Aspire, and they actually turned in a proposal for their final assignment in class. And it was so cool to see. And then on top of that, a lot of these students got internships over the summer, and they went to those internships, and then they came back and they're like, the company I interned for used Aspire and I knew what I was doing. I knew the flow of it and I felt like I had a leg up. So that's really what we're trying to do, is we're just trying to help the next generation of students and young professionals in the workforce. We just want them to be better prepared. And so I'm lucky enough that I get to go teach it because it's my job. I do it all day long. So I get to go teach there, and it's absolutely wonderful. And BYU's done a really cool thing. Part of that bidding and estimating course was doing Aspire Academy. So they built in, I think it gets them about 70% of the way to getting their student certification. And then if they want to do that extra 30%, BYU actually offers just a pass-fail class that if they get their student certification, they get a credit. So we want them to be able to enter into the workforce being a bit more prepared with what softwares are out there and how people use it. So
yeah, it's a big learning curve. I can
Yes.
imagine diving into this type of technology. It's so expansive that having that leg up when you go to your summer internship program is vital.
Yes. Yeah. And it was interesting too, because I kind of forget where I started. I was a student there. I took bidding and estimating, and I said to the class my very first day, which was the second week of the semester, I said, okay, so who can tell me the difference between a man hour or a crew hour? And nobody rose their hand. And I was like, okay, that's where we're starting. And they learned it very quickly, but without really being able to sit down with them and show them this, they're already taking in so much. They're taking in the science and the design and the operations of it all, that sometimes this can fall by the wayside a little bit. But it was wonderful to see them improve, that by the end, when they're doing their assignments, they're like, oh yeah, so I caught what you were trying to do here and we fixed it. And I was like, that's amazing. Yes, I put that in there as a trick. That's so wonderful. Good job. So they did so great on that. And then we had our recruiting event down at BYU about 2 months ago, and I was there for Sunline. I had so many students from that class come up and talk to me, and they said, my company used Aspire and I knew what I was doing. And I was like, I left that being like, oh my gosh, I've done my job. I did it. That's exactly what we want. 2 students who graduated in April, they graduated and had jobs as their Aspire super user when they graduated. So it was even cooler, because it was I really liked it. I loved what I was doing. It helps me figure out the company. It helps me figure out all this. And then they were able to get hired right out of college in a cool, different position than maybe they thought they would have at the beginning. So
Absolutely. I love that. I think that very often when you look at an industry, in any industry, really, when you're going to college, you have an idea of what the jobs are available to you. And then all of a sudden you start diving a little bit deeper, and you are able to realize how many opportunities are actually available to you. So it's amazing that you're helping students realize their unique fit in this
yeah.
industry.
As I've been saying this whole time, my job would not be effective without the support of the others. And the professors at both Utah State and BYU have been complete and total champions for Aspire and the Aspire Academy. It's cool because I get to help them, but also they champion it so hard and they're such supporters that it makes it easy for me to come in and be like, yeah, look how cool we are supporting them. But really, they're doing so much work to make it like a big deal for them and their students. So,
Yes, amazing. I'd love to know what's one thing you tell your students that you think our listeners should also hear today?
I would say to students and to other people in the industry that don't get too stuck in what you think something is going to be. Don't be too stuck in what you think you want right out the gate, right? Everybody has a path, and to get into a place that you want to be and a job you want to be in is going to happen. It will happen. Be patient. Let your life guide you where you need to go. I never thought I would be in technology. I never thought that would be my job, but it is, and I love it. And if I hadn't been open to that possibility, then I would be in the same job that I'm doing, and I'm sure I would love it. I'm sure I would be loving it, but I love this even more, and it fits my personality and my like what motivates me at work even more than my last job was doing. And so I tell my students a lot, like, you know, BYU and Utah State are both pretty design heavy schools. I know you guys want to design, but realize how much design is in everything else. So be okay with something else, and you never know what you're going to love. And be okay with loving something else that you may not have thought you would have loved before. So,
Yeah, keep an open mind and keep an open heart. I think that
yes.
is excellent advice. Taylor Anderson, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Toolbox for the Trades. This was a great conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I just absolutely love my job. I love my company. I love just being able to help other people. And so if this is helpful for somebody, then I'm glad that I was able to be here and kind of share our message here.
We're glad to have you. Thank you so much.